Good morning. This is VirtualPBX admin training.
Good morning. This is VirtualPBX admin training.
Going to give people just a minute here, just because it's a holiday, and I want to give people a little bit of time to get in and get situated. Just so you're aware, we do have other videos here on our YouTube channel. Two of the more recent ones are the advanced reporting demo, as well as the ACDQs Pro. I believe it's a demo as well. So those are worth checking out. They're going to be under the videos section of our YouTube channel. But here, we're going to be going into Dash in terms of basically exploring all the features and how to get them set up. Right now, you see our Dash login page, which is at dash.virtualpbx.com. You can also navigate there from the virtualpbx.com website. Just mouse over support and select Dash login. It will take you here. I do recommend bookmarking this page, and that way you can just get here quickly going forward. To log in, we need your email address, which is your Dash username, your password, which was hopefully emailed to you, and then the account name, which is typically your company name. Now, for some reason you don't remember your password, or it wasn't sent to you, over here towards the bottom right, just above the sign-in box, we have you forgot your info link. Just go ahead and click on that. It'll flip it over. We still need your email address, but then we need either the company name or a company phone number, right? So one of the phone numbers your customers dial into. Then you click on the reset password link button here, and you'll get an email with a link to log in that lets you change your password. It will log you back out, and then you can log back in. Now, the reason it does that is it gives you a chance to click on the Remember Me box. But then you go ahead and click on Sign In. And in this case, we'll be taken right to the dashboard because I've been using an account that's been around for 6 years or so. But if it's your first time logging in, you're actually going to be taken to the account page, and the Dash wizard will open up. Now, you can always get back to the account page by going up to the top, and where you see your name and your company name, you just click there. And here you're on your user page. Now, on your user page, this is where you would change your personal email address used for logging in, as well as your own password. Right? For everyone else that you're going to be working with, you would go through the user page. But for yourself, you do it here under your user page. Excuse me. Now, as an admin, you also have access to the account settings. The main thing that's changed here typically is the company time zone. Right, you just do a search for the appropriate city. You could change your company name as well, or the account name. If you do that, please let our billing team know. There are several things they're going to need to change on their end. Now, as I mentioned, this is a test account, so I don't get everything that you get. So when you log in, underneath the user section, there'll be another section down below here on the left for your billing information. This is where you would update your credit card. You can also see your previous invoices. You can also see your service plan. When you're done here, just click Close over here to the top right, and you'll be taken to the dashboard. Now, at the top, again, you get your name. We're going to get back to the account page. And many of you will have a D&D toggle, right? D&D for Do Not Disturb. If you see white on it, that means it's enabled, right? If it's black with a white outline, then it's disabled. The reason I don't have it is because my user is also in an ACDQ. And having D&D toggle at the top has proven to be problematic for users who are also in an ACDQ, so it was removed. Then we've got this question mark icon here. When you mouse over it, it expands out. Chat with us will open up a chat window so you can speak with a support team member and they can walk you through the feature you're working on. Learn more will open up a new tab and go to the support pages so you can see a guide written out guide with screenshots of a feature. The online store, that will take you to store.virtualpbx.com. And that's where you would order like a VoIP phone or a router, etc. And some of you may also have a web phone link here at the bottom right. This is after you've added a web phone device to your user. It will eventually start showing up here, and that will take you to webphone.virtualpbx.net, where you could use Chrome or Firefox and your internet connection to make and receive calls. Then we got the hamburger or menu icon here, got 3 horizontal lines. This takes you to other features of Dash. We're on the dashboard, which is will be for most of this training. And then we got the logout icon here. Now, over here on the left, these are other features of Dash, which we will be getting into, which is why we'll be spending most of our time here on the dashboard. In the middle, total users. These are people who are on my account who make and receive calls. If I'm on a per user plan, each of my users is costing me additional amount of money. So if I add someone, my bill will increase. Then I got total devices. I have a total of 42, and then a breakdown. All right, so first up, I've got cell phone, pretty self-explanatory. All right, then we got the web phone, which I briefly mentioned. A soft phone, that's a software application, uses your internet connection to make and receive calls. SIP phone, this is a physical VoIP phone, right? So I guess I should backtrack a little here. VoIP stands for Voice over Internet Protocol. It uses your internet connection to make and receive calls, right? A SIP phone is a subtype of that, right? Uses a particular protocol to make and it's a physical device in this case, to make and receive calls, right? So I pick up a handset and I can dial out. Now, soft phone, right, is also a kind of VoIP phone, right? Because it's still using your internet connection, but it's just a software application. This could be your VirtualPBX soft phone app. It could be an app from another company, right? The web phone is technically kind of soft phone, right? Which means it's also kind of a VoIP device. We were able to create this after Dash had initially come out, which is why it has its own category. And then the last kind of phone I've got on this account is a landline. Now you notice here I have an unregistered devices, 18. So Dash knows when a VoIP device is connected to it, right? If it's connected, that means it's registered. If it's not connected, that means it's unregistered. This can be something really simple, right? This could be someone that hasn't logged into their soft phone application yet, or they haven't plugged in their VoIP phone yet, right? It could be more complicated. It could be they're having a network issue, right? It could be something more major, like their internet service provider is having an outage. All Dash knows is that these 18 devices aren't registered, so we can't send calls to it. Then we got total phone numbers, 31. Your plan will include anywhere from 2 to 15 phone numbers as part of your monthly plan price. If you go over that, there will be an overage based on the on each phone number, right? So each phone number over your allotment is going to have an overage charge associated with it. To verify what that charge is, you're going to want to talk to our account services team. They will let you know what your total allotment is and what overage you have for going over that. Then we have a breakdown here of assigned numbers and spare numbers. An assigned number means you're using it, right? Someone can dial that number and speak to a person or leave a voicemail or join a conference, send a fax, right? In some aspect, it's a working number. Spare number, it's a number on your account, so it still counts towards your allotment, but you're not using it right now. So if someone dials it, they're going to get a busy tone, right? This could be because you had a promotion going for this Labor Day that just passed here in the US, and now you're shutting off that promotion because Labor Day's passed. I don't want calls on that number anymore, right? It could be you had numbers in sequence and you just haven't gotten to the last couple numbers in that sequence. Next breakdown here, USDID and US toll-free. The US toll-free is actually US Canada toll-free, right? It's an 800 number, 888 all the way down to 833. Right? USDID, that just means a US local number, right? So you can have a number in Elmira, New York, or a number, say, in Grapevine, Texas, or anywhere else in the United States. Now, you can have international numbers on your account. If you're interested in doing so, you need to email our porting team. That's PORTING at virtualpbx.com. They need to know the city and country that you're interested in getting a number in. If there are additional requirements to get said number, they will let you know. But otherwise, they will simply add the number to your account. Conference bridges. This just means I have enabled the ability to host or moderate a conference on 8 of my users. Now, I'm not able to make use of this feature unless I have a conference phone number already added, which I already do on this account. Over here to the top, we've got my main numbers, right? These 4 phone numbers, they all behave the same way. They're all going to the same initial location. They're all going to have the same main greeting, right? You can have literally dozens of main numbers if you want to. Conference number, this is the number everyone dials to get to my conference rooms, right? Whether they're my staff members or my clients or my vendors. And you can have multiple conference numbers if you are so inclined. The fax box number, you can only have the one fax box number. This enables faxing on your account, and this is your inbound fax number, right? So what people are faxing to. Now we got the company directory, right? This downloads a text file to your computer, which will have your users and their extension numbers, right? Some people like to have that printed out. Then we've got the soft phone directory. This is for use with the VirtualPBX desktop soft phone application on Windows or Mac OS. You would download this file and then upload it to the soft phone app, and then you'll be able to see the status of your other staff members who are using the soft phone app. Right? You can see if they're on a call or they're not. All right. Then as a Dash customer, you get a discount in our store, right? So store discount code for use at store.virtualpbx.com. And then lastly, we have the account realm. The account realm is used in a couple things. One, it's used to program a third-party soft phone or VoIP phone, right? Basically, there's 3 key pieces of information you would get from Dash to make use of a third-party application or device. And the realm is one of those 3. The other thing you use the account realm for is to fax out. On Dash, sending a fax out is via email. In the to field of the email, you put the plus sign, the number 1, area code and phone number you're faxing to, @ your account realm. And then you attach a PDF or TIFF file and click send. All right, up here at the top, or towards the top, we got caller ID. This is your main company caller ID, or your default caller ID, however you want to term it. This up here is a pull down, which unfortunately my streaming software is not showing, but you can select any of your main numbers. Right, and so what that means is that this, whatever number you select, that becomes the default outbound caller ID for any of your VoIP phones on the account. Then here, we've got the company caller ID name, or CNAME. You have 15 characters, including spaces and special characters that you can use. Once you click Save Changes here at the bottom, this information gets transmitted to the other carriers who support CNAME. It takes them about 3 business days to get that updated. Bear in mind that that's referred to as provisioning the CNAME information. That's all that we can control, right? When you make an outbound call, it can route through several carriers. Not every carrier supports CNAME. So if your call happens to route through one of them, your CNAME information doesn't get through to your destination, right? Even at your destination, that the carrier who that phone is on, they have the final say on what shows up on phones on their network. All right, now we've got company emergency information, or E911. Every phone number you can set up to have its own individual address associated with it, so that way when someone picks up a VoIP phone, this is the address information that is transmitted to emergency services. So you obviously want to make sure that's the correct address. And then you would click on Save Changes. All right, next up we have hold music. So hold music on Dash is defined as once a caller has reached a user, and then that user presses the hold button on their VoIP phone, hold music will play. You can upload your own files here. You would just click on the little browse button, find a .wav, .mp3, or .ogg file. Those are the file types. And then click the up arrow icon. Now, for the files that you upload, you want to make sure that they're recorded in mono and not in stereo. And you want to make sure they're under 1 megabyte in file size. Once it's done uploading, you click on Save Changes, and that will become the default hold music for everyone, for all your staff members. Now, hours is actually part of main number, and I don't like skipping around in main number, so we're just going to go right to main number and work our way down. Now, the main number page can take a little while to load because there's a lot of information. And I mostly say that because I personally am not super patient, so it's a way to remind myself. All right, so at the top, we got your main company numbers. If you no longer want to use a number as a main number, you would just click on Assign next to it. Right, now the number is still on my account. I haven't deleted it from my account. I just simply said, oh, I'm not using it here. So it puts it in spare status. Now, any place you can add a number, right? So main number, the fax box, the conference bridge on a user, a group, etc. You will typically have the option to buy number or add from spares, right? So add from spares, these are numbers already on your account. So you can choose to reuse these numbers, right? Reassign them. Right? Buy numbers, this means you're adding a new number to your account. You have local and toll free. So local, you need to know the area code that you want to look for. And just be aware that, especially major metropolitan areas, it's possible that the first area code you look up will return no results, right? There's nothing available. So then you need to look up the overlays for that area, or like the neighboring area codes, so like 323, for instance. You just add a number, right? Your sharpen card increases by 1. It has the number here. You have the option to remove it if you decide to change your mind or one of the other numbers makes more sense to you. You can also add multiple numbers if you're so inclined. Right? And I can also just remove it if I don't. Once I'm done, I click on Buy Numbers. This is the system verifying that the number was truly available, then moving it to your account and making it ready to work. And then here it is down here. Got a little gear icon here. You can click on the gear icon. You can update the caller ID, right? So up top, you got the CNAM information. So each of your phone numbers can have its own CNAM if you want it to, as well as turning on the ability to have CNAM information get transmitted through to your users. E911, you can set up the address for each of your phone numbers. And again, it's for each VoIP device, you can tell the system which E911 information to use, right? So that way, when you have people working remotely, they can have the accurate address. Prepend, this is for your VoIP, this is a VoIP feature, but basically, you can type in text that will show up on your VoIP phone's displays as part of the caller ID, and then be in front of the caller ID. So I could type in SoCal saying, and then click on Save Changes. So now when a call comes in on this 323 phone number, right, we'll say call gets through to my user Bob. On Bob's VoIP phone, it will say SoCal and then give the phone number of the person calling in. So he knows, oh, this is on the new SoCal promotion or our new location in Southern California. Right, toll-free, slightly different in the fact that you just have to choose the toll-free prefix you want to work with, and then click search, and again, find the right number, click add by numbers. Keep in mind that the 800 area code is probably not going to find, you're not going to find much, right? That's the original toll-free area code, and it's been exhausted for a while. office hours strategy. So for a new signup, you start off at 24-hour open office, right? Meaning your system's ready to take calls. Up to you if you want to go to custom office hours, but if you do, then for each day of the week, you want to put a little check mark in front of it. So that way you're saying, hey, I'm open. And then in these boxes here to the right, you denote your open hours in 24-hour/military time. Right? And any day you're closed, you leave unchecked. You also have the option at the bottom to say if you're closed for lunch. If you do put a check mark in front of that, then you do need to input your lunch hours, and the system will automatically put you in lunch mode at that time. Any changes, click on Save Changes. All right, next up we have office holidays. If you're closed for holidays, put a check mark here. Then over here to the right, you have the option to add holiday. You have single day, date range, and advanced. Right? And if you look here, single day is like right here for New Year's. You give it a name. You select the date, right? So January 1st. Right? Date range, you have here for Christmas time. Again, you select the start date and an end date. Notice that there's no year indicator. So you want to avoid a date range that includes New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. You just want to do a single day for each one of those. Or have date ranges that end on New Year's Eve and then a new date range that starts on New Year's Day. And then lastly, the advanced option is here for under retreat. Right? You give it a name, you select the month, and then this middle column or this middle pull down, you have the options of first through fifth as well as last, and then the day of the week. Right? So in this case, first Friday in July, it's company picnic day, so we're closed. Any changes, you click on Save Changes. All right, and then here we have our incoming call handling. So this is for all your main numbers. Right, this is how calls are going to be handled on these numbers. You have your open hours, you have your after hours, you have your holiday hours. If I had chosen to be closed during lunch, I'd also have a tab here for lunch hours. But if you notice on all of these, the same options were available. Right? So calls come in and they're going to my virtual receptionist. If I click on this, virtual receptionist, it's a link. It will open up a new window here. So first on the left, I've got my main menu. This is what people will press on their phone to navigate through the phone system. And I click down here where it says Add Route, so I can create a menu option, right? Now this pull down has default, then 0 through 9, and the star key. And then this, you can, here, I'll go up here. Right, so you got Smart PBX directory, right, the dial by name directory. You can choose to have a call go to a specific user. You can have calls go to a call queue if you're making use of queues. You can send calls to a specific device. Now just be aware if that device doesn't have voicemail, then the call will just keep bringing to that device. Right, you can send it to a media file. This means that you're playing a greeting file, essentially, right? .wav, MP3, etc. Once that media file is done playing, the call will end. Let's scroll down here. You can send it to a group, right? This would be a department. Groups and queues are related in some respects, and I'll get into that later. Advanced call flows. This is if you're making use of multiple auto attendants or submenuing. And then you can also send it to a voicemail box, right? So someone can press an option to leave a message. All right, over here to the right, we've got first your greeting options. First up is text-to-speech. This is, you type in a greeting, you click update, save changes. This is the computerized robotic voice greeting. You have 250 to 350 characters to work with. This is something I typically recommend for people who are just starting out, whether that's because they're just starting up a new business or they've never used a PBX system before, or both, right? This is just to get used to how you want your calls to run. There's no charge for making use of text-to-speech greetings. The one caveat I need to tell you about, however, is that every time you save one, it uses the same name. right? Main menu open hours TTS, right? So every time I type in something new here and I click save, etc., it's gonna, I could have literally dozens of files, but they all have the same name. So what I recommend is after you make a greeting, you go to your greetings tab, which we'll be getting to shortly, and rename the file to something that you'll recognize. So that way, if you need to switch back to it, you can find it easily. You can upload your own file, .wav, .mp3, .ogg, recorded in mono, under 1 megabyte. Right, just find the file, and then you would click update, save, and save changes. You can choose from an existing file on the account, so anything you've already uploaded or added to the account. This pull down will show you all your options. You notice here, main menu hours, menu TTS, which means I haven't changed that one, which isn't my bad. Then you got the option to record it over the phone. Now this first instruction here, right, pick up a phone registered to the account. This means the system wants you to pick up a VoIP phone that you've added to the account. It's a security feature. If you don't want to do that, or it's easier for you just to use a cell phone or a landline, or you've got that friend with a great radio voice, then under settings, you want to see where it says allow outside recording, you want to turn this on, right? By default, it's off. So when you turn it on, that means someone with a landline or a cell phone can call into your main number, and then if they know the PIN number, they can record a new main greeting for you. Now, if you've just started out, right, so you just opened your account with us, the first time you call to your main number, right, it'll tell you no greeting for this menu has been recorded and prompts you to enter the PIN number. And then you follow the instructions and you record a new greeting. If you've already set up a greeting, right, and let's say it's coming up on Christmas time and you want a new greeting for Christmas. So you're going to go, let's call in and record it over the phone. That's fine. When you hear that main greeting play, right, the one that you have already in place, you would still enter this PIN number, and then the system will walk you through recording a new greeting. However, the system doesn't allow you to change the file name, so it just overwrites the existing file that's in place. So that's something to keep in mind. The other thing to know is that this PIN number is specific to this time of day, right? So we're under my open hours, right? It says up here at the top. So that means this PIN number only works during my open hours. So if I call in after, say 8 o'clock in the evening when my system's already in after hours, this PIN number will no longer work, meaning I cannot change my open hours greeting during after hours, or vice versa. Then we have professional recording services. When you click order, it will take you to a new website hosted by Snap Recordings, who we have partnered with. They have like 100 voice actors and actresses to choose from. They have various versions of English, Spanish, and French. They also do hold treatment, right, a mix of music and a script. They handle their own billing via credit card. They deliver typically via email, so then you would then upload the file. All right, settings. So the first one here, number of retries on misdial. This is how many times your inbound caller can make a mistake. 1 or 2 is typically fine, up to you if you want to make it higher. But basically, caller comes in, they have two times that they can make 2 mistakes, right? So first time they call in, right, they'll hear the greeting, and let's say they press 5. Well, that's their first mistake. Greeting plays again, they press 7. That's their second mistake. So now they're on the last attempt, right? Greeting plays again, and if they're wrong again, in this case, they'll be sent to this default route, right? So my smart PBX directory. If I don't have a default route play or established, let's remove that. Instead, the call is ended. Now, each time, by default, each time they make a mistake, the system will say invalid entry. And that last time, it said we didn't recognize any of your entries and says goodbye. Dialing timeout. This is how much time the system waits after it hears a button press before it assumes the person is done. Right, so that call out example we were working with, right, person calls in, presses 5. The system waits for a count of 10, says, oh, they're done, and then plays the invalid entry message. For most people, I say you probably want to take this down to 5 or less. But again, that's personal preference. We've already covered the allow call recording, or outside recording, excuse me. Allow dialing extensions. So if this is off, when a person calls in, they can only press one of my menu options, right? If they know someone's extension, it doesn't matter. The system won't take it. It'll say, nope, you only can get one of these menu options. Versus if I turn it on, then if they do know the extension number, the system goes, oh, all right, let me send you here. Right, that's kind of important with the dialing timeout, right? Just how much time people have to look up for the extension numbers. And then lastly, we've got the suppress playing of the invalid entry message. If you don't want your customers to hear that they hit the wrong menu option, you just turn this on, and then they won't hear that error message. Any changes you make under your main menu, your greetings, or your settings, you want to click Save. And then when you're back under here, under Incoming Call Handling, you need to click Save Changes. Right? So you're clicking Save twice. Right, the second option here, call comes in, I'm offering it to Aaron. If he doesn't pick up, it goes to the virtual receptionist. This is your live operator answer option, right? So this is like this is the pull down. So you can send it to any user, queues, devices if you want to. You can send it to a media file. Again, I don't recommend it because it can be confusing to your inbound caller, right? Because they'll end up getting 2 greetings back to back. Scroll down a ways, and then you can send it to a group, so like your receptionist group, for example. And then it would go to your virtual receptionist. Now we're still under my open hours, right? So if I click on this virtual receptionist, it's going to be the same options we were just looking at. But basically, calls come in, they're offered to this group for 20 seconds. That's hard-coded into the system. If no one's able to pick up, then it goes to my virtual receptionist. Now, for instance, if I change this to after hours, right, calls go in, I'm offering it to Aaron. If I click on this virtual receptionist, because I'm on after hours, this is a different virtual receptionist, right? I have different menu options here, likely have a different greeting, it says after hours. And you can set up these options as well. Third option here, I'm offering it to a user. Now this pull down is the same options as the second one with one difference. At the very bottom, you have the option to skip the voicemail. Right, so call comes in, sent right to this voicemail box. Often I see this under holidays for a very small business, right, mom and pop shop. This last option only shows up is if you have multiple auto attendants or if you have DISA enabled. But basically, you can send calls to a secondary attendant instead. This may not show up on your account if you don't have multiple auto attendants. Speaking of auto attendants, so this is a feature that's only available on some plans. It's not on every plan. So if this ends up being something you're interested in and you don't have the auto attendants option here, you're going to need to speak to our account services team. A couple of use cases is if you'd use multiple attendants for submenuing, right? So you calls come in and you're saying, hey, for English, press 1, for 2, or press 2 for Spanish, right? 3 for French, etc. So those menu options, right, send callers to another group of options where you could have menu options there and their own greetings, right? So English, or Spanish, or French, etc. And then those menu options would go to the appropriately, language speaking people. The other use case that comes in is in an instance where you have multiple small businesses that are where the calls are being answered by the same staff members, right? So you've got a dog walking business and a cleaning business, right? They would have their own phone numbers. They have their own main greetings, right? Because they're very different businesses, but all the calls are getting routed to the same people, your same staff members. In either situation, you start at the top here by clicking Add Attendant. You give it a name and an extension number. The extension number, typically it's going to be for in-house use where your staff members can send callers to a different business, and then you click on Create Attendant. Once something is created, if you click on the name here, you have the option here for this one here is unavailable in main menu. This means it's a standalone attendant, right? It's its own business. If I click here, now I flipped it to say available in main menu. This means I'm saying it's available to be an option in my main menus, whether that's the virtual receptionist we were just looking at or any of the other attendants I'm going to be looking at here. Your auto attendants can have their own phone numbers, which would make sense if they're their own businesses. You can add from spare numbers or buy new numbers. You have a little gear icon here so you can adjust the caller ID, E911, etc. The extension box, this is if you want to change the extension number that's associated with one of your attendants. You can also add multiple if you're so inclined. And then we've got the little wrench icon here under settings. Now you notice here I have open hours, after hours, and holidays. This is going to match what we already set up under the main number. Right? So your secondary businesses have to have the same hours of operation as your primary. If you're going to have them, if they are different, right, just because of the nature of their businesses, that means you're either looking at having separate accounts, right? So you can have one set of accounts for your 7-day-a-week businesses and another set of accounts for your 5-day-a-week businesses. Or you might need to look at custom work by our product specialists. Either situation, you're going to want to talk to our account services team. The custom work usually, or it can, have a one-time setup fee, but that also restricts your options in terms of how often you can change things. So account services, so that they can go over all the options with you. Now, this virtual receptionist, just like we were just looking at, right? You add routes, you create a greeting, you adjust your settings, then you would click save, and then save changes, and you would do so again for after hours and holidays. All right, next up is devices. This is what your staff members use to answer calls or make calls. Little green icons here, that means that's a registered device, meaning Dash knows it's connected and we can send calls to it or get calls from it. Right? Red means it's unregistered, not connected. And then black means you've turned it off. Up here at the top, that's where you can add devices. You have SIP phone, cell phone, soft phone, etc. SIP phone, again, that's that physical VoIP device that's on your desk. You have these manufacturers to work with. Some, like Yealink, have many models to choose from. Others, like HTech here, don't have as many. And Nexus goes in between. So you find the manufacturer you want of your phone, and then you hopefully find the model you're going to work with. You give the phone a name, right? Bob's phone. And then you put the MAC address. Each phone has its own MAC address that's unique to the phone. Often it's a sticker on the back of the phone. Or if the phone's plugged in, if you go to menu status or basic settings, something of that nature, one of the options there will be MAC, M-A-C, and you would record that information here. Then you would click on Create Device, and then you would go to the Users page to assign the device to a user. As far as the dashboard here is concerned, you're done. There's nothing more to do within the dashboard for that phone. However, you do need to log into that phone's web user interface, web UI. You need to enter in a auto-provisioning URL at the very least. For the specific details on the manufacturers, you want to go to VirtualPBX.com, go over to support, right? Or click on support, get to the support pages, scroll down about a third of the way down and look to the right under VoIP phones. You're looking for the document called Auto Provisioning Phones. It will have a section for each of these manufacturers that we're just looking at, as well as screenshots and the exact syntax that phone is looking for the auto provision URL. there's usually some settings that the document wants you to confirm. You click update or confirm or say whatever the nomenclature that the phone uses, and then you click auto provision now. That tells the phone, hey, go to the URL I just inputted. It goes there, it grabs its configuration file. It's going to reboot a couple times. Like you might want to go up and get a cup of water or coffee while it's rebooting. When it's done, it should show up as a green device on the account. And then you're good to go. A cell phone and landline are essentially the same. It's just a different name, right? But you give the device a name, right? So Angela's phone. Then you enter the number. You need the plus sign, the number 1, then area code and phone number. And then you click on create device. Now, when Dash sends a call to a cell phone or landline, I'm going to bring back these settings here. So this is your basic settings, right? So this is what I inputted here. If I go to advanced and options, right? If I click that there, that's the default settings for any cell phone or landline. So call comes in. It's getting sent to your cell phone. Your phone rings. And under these default settings, right? You pick the answer. You click answer on your phone. Then you'll hear this is a forwarded call. Please press 1. Right? That's a system message telling you this. When you press 1, you're telling the system yes, you are there, and yes, you want to take this call. When it hears the tone, it connects the call. You're talking to that customer. Now, that doesn't work in every situation. Like a primary situation that we come across is, say you're making use of an after-hours answering service, right? That uses an automated system, right? So an automated system can't press 1. It doesn't know when to do so, right? It's like a robo-dialer. So what you would want to do is for that device, under these advanced options here, you want to put a check mark here in front of allow use of cell phone's voicemail. What that does is we send the call, right, to that device. When we hear that pickup tone, we connect the call, right? So great for your automated answering service, right? Because it picks up the tone, call's connected, it handles the call at that point. Now, if this was actually your cell phone and you have this option enabled, right, your cell phone voicemail picks up. We still, right, that's a pickup tone. We still connect the call. So that inbound call ends up on your cell phone voicemail. Some people want that. Some people definitely do not. Other thing that comes up is this one here, keep original caller ID. So, say customer Mary's calling in, gets to your cell phone. On your cell phone, you see customer Mary's phone number, but you don't recognize it, right? Because she's a new customer. You're like, I'm tired of hearing about extending my auto warranty. So you let the call to go to voicemail, and hopefully then after the fact, you can reconnect with Mary, or maybe not. If you uncheck this option, when the call comes in, instead of seeing Mary's phone number, you see your company number, right? So it's a way to let you know, oh, this is a work call. And what I mean by company number, go back to the dashboard. It's going to be that default company caller ID or the main company caller ID, right? So under here, under caller ID, whatever number you've selected here under your pull down, that's the number that would show up on your cell phone in that scenario. So it's a way to let you know that it's a business call that's coming in versus a random. Now, unfortunately, you only have the choice of either the inbound caller's phone number or your company number. There's no way for us to show both. Soft phone, right? This is software application. Please read this warning message so you understand it. And on this page here, on the devices page, it defaults to making use of a third-party soft phone. So you would give it a name. You're going to want to copy the username. Click on the set password box to see your set password so you can copy it. And then the account realm, right? These are the 3 pieces of information you need to program or provision your soft phone application. That's not from VirtualPBX, right? So you got it from Counterpath. Or for a VoIP phone that didn't show up under that SIP phone list. Right, you would click on Create Device, assign it to that whatever user, and then use those 3 pieces of information to provision that device. You can also add a web phone here. It's got that same warning message. The thing is, the web phone uses your dash login at webphone.virtualpbx.net. So at this point, if you just add it here, it's not useful, right? It doesn't have a username associated with it yet. So I say just add the web phone on the user page. All right, the greetings manager. This shows all your greetings on the account. Right, you can scroll down and see what they are. Name, pretty self-explanatory. The source, right? Upload means you uploaded the file, right? TTS, text to speech. So you typed it in under the virtual receptionist. And then recording means you recorded it over the phone. You can download these files so you can listen to them, make sure they're still relevant. And then you've got the little wrench icon here under edit. So here's where you can change the name, right, to something you'll recognize. Or if it's no longer valid, just click on delete here to get rid of it. At the top, this is where you add a new file, right? You give it a name, find the file on your computer. Again, .wav, .mp3, .ogg, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Click on create greeting, it will upload the file, and then it will show up here and be available wherever you need a greeting. Groups, sometimes referred to as ring groups or hunt groups. You click add group at the top. You give it a name and an extension number, and then you click and drag the people that you want to be in this group. And then you click on create group. Once a group's created, you can click on the name. Right, so you can change the name here. Then you also have group call attempts. So what this is how many times the inbound caller is offered to your staff members. So in this case, I have set to 2. You have little arrows here to the far right of this box. So you can increase or decrease it as you need to. You obviously have the option to delete. And if you make any changes, click on Save Changes. Next, we have the members box. Excuse me. If you click on that, now you see the ring order I have for my staff members here. Up here along the top, these are timestamps, right? And this last one you can edit. The default for a new group is 120 seconds, right? 2 minutes. In this case, this was up to 240. You can also click this distribute button, right? So now everyone has an equal amount of time that they're offered, and it's going to ring in this order every time, right? So Michael, Jan, Jade, Brandon, etc. If I don't like this order, or it needs to change for whatever reasons, you click on a person's name and you can drag them down or drag them up or in between, and then you click distribute again, right? And so now the order has been reset. These are sliders, right? So you can adjust it so you don't have to stick with what the distribution said. And you can do something like this. And this, what I'm setting up, is referred to as blast ringing or ring all. Right, so now when a call comes in, it's ringing everybody at the same time for the same amount of time until one of them picks up. Now, for calls that come into a group, right? Let's say Aaron has got like 4 devices on his user. All 4 of them will ring when a call comes into a group that he's in. Right? The system's not going to make use of the follow me callings that you set up under the user. Likewise, let's say a call comes in, Aaron answers it, right? So he's helping the customer. A second call comes in, he's going to hear a call waiting beep until the next person, right, one of his coworkers picks up. So any changes, you click on Save Changes. Extension. Again, this is for your staff members to transfer calls to different groups. You can have multiple extensions if you want. Groups can have their own phone number, like we have on this one down here. Now, one thing to know is that this phone number is available 24/7, right? It does not follow your open hours. So, and the reason you want to know that is if you have people making use of their personal cell phones as devices and they're in this group, they can get a call like at 2 in the morning. The way around that with a group would be to make a secondary attendant that has a default action that goes to a single group, right? Because that way it has a virtual receptionist, so it's going to follow those hours. Then we've got the group features box. So first up is a ringback. This allows you to upload a media file, right? .ogg, .mp3, .wave, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Just click upload to find the file and then save changes. Now, ringback replaces the ringing sound, right? So when a call comes into your group, it gets offered to your users. Instead of the inbound caller hearing ringing, you can have the ringback file play instead. Now, one odd thing is if we don't get that ringing sound from your users, right? So the first person in line, right? For whatever reasons, we don't get that ringing sound. If you have ringback enabled, nothing is going to play, right? Because we didn't get the ringing sound to replace it with. So keep that in mind. In that respect, it's sometimes better to have a VoIP phone on your users in the group. Next action, if you enable this, what do you do if no one picks up? This is a pull down. You can send it to your main menu, right? You're back to your virtual receptionist. You can send it to one of your other auto attendants. You can send it to a call queue. You can send it to a specific device, right? A specific phone. You can send it to a specific user. You can send it to another group. Or you can send it to a user's voicemail box, excuse me. And then you click Save Changes. Allow call forward. If you enable this, your users can make use of call forwarding. Right, basically they're not going to be at their normal day-to-day phone. They're going to forward calls to their backup. Caller ID prepend. This is for your VoIP phone users. If you click enabled, you can add text or numbers that will show up in front of your VoIP in front of the caller ID that shows up on your VoIP phones. That basically give your staff members a heads up about the kind of call they're about to take. Numbers. This takes you to your numbers manager and basically shows you the numbers and where they're going. Right, you got the little gear icon here, so you can adjust the caller ID, the E911, etc. Spare numbers, these are the numbers you're not using. If you want to get rid of these numbers, right, because you have too many phone numbers, pay attention to where it says numbers and by up here. Click on a box in front of the number, and now I've got the option to delete a number. Confirm the deletion, and now it's removed from my account. You can buy numbers here, right? Local and spare, and local and toll free, excuse me. It's just going to add them to your spare number list, so then you could assign them later to another spot. You have the option here to port a number. So port a number means you're moving a phone number from one carrier to another carrier, right? So let's say from T-Mobile to VirtualPBX. You give it a name. You choose US local or toll free. You click next. Then you want you to upload a copy of your bill in PDF format. That's going to ask you to then indicate the address associated on that bill, the billing telephone number, the account number. Then it asks what numbers are you porting. It will then let you download a blank letter of agency or LOA. And then you want to upload a completed and signed LOA. There is, I know there's 4 check boxes you need to check off. You want to read those, obviously, make sure you understand what's going on. And then you would click submit. After you click submit, it's uploading the documents to us. You'll get an email, right? An automated email shows up right away. By the next business day, you'll get another email from our porting team letting you know, yes, we did get your documents. Yes, we've submitted the port request. A couple things to keep in mind. For the LOA, it asks you for your company information, right? Company name, address. That information should match what the current carrier has on file for your phone numbers. Right? So now, let's say you're porting 5 phone numbers, and there's 2 different addresses associated with them. Right? Let's say 2 numbers have one address, 3 numbers have the other address. That's 2 different port requests, right? 2 different LOAs. The LOA does need to be signed. Right? There's a part for you to print your name and a part for you to sign your name. It does need a signature. That can be a digital signature or an image of your signature. That's fine. You don't actually have to print it out and physically sign it. But it does need to be signed, right? Just typing in your name twice will get it rejected. Port requests can vary a little bit in terms of their timing. Toll-free numbers, typically 3 to 5 business days, assuming everything is correct. Local numbers have a wide variance. Some have completed in 1 business day, others have completed in 2 to 3 weeks. Again, that's assuming everything is right. If there's an error, right, we get a rejection notice from the other carrier. It's not always very specific, right? They will tell us address mismatch or authorized user mismatch. If we're lucky, they might give us additional information like, oh, the street number is wrong, right? Or the zip code is wrong. Most of the time, we don't get that. So all we can tell you is this is we got an address mismatch or authorized user mismatch. You're going to need to then contact your current carrier to find out what that information is supposed to be for those phone numbers. All right, users. Here you see all the users on your account. The little blue suit icon, that is a system admin. Gray person icon is your standard user. To add a new user, you click up here at the top, add user. Put in their first and last name. The email used for login has to be unique for each user, right? So I can't reuse support@virtualpbx.com for 5 different people. Right? I have to have a different email address for each one of them. Then you create a password for them. And then you enter an extension number for them. Now the system is just defaulting to 1021 because I started with extension 1000, right? But let's say I'm starting up a new business and I want to have these people that are associated with the business have their own extension number sequence. I can do that, right? So I can make this, 5320. By default, create a new voicemail box with the user at the same time, so that it enables the voicemail feature on the user right off the bat. This voicemail box is intrinsically tied to the user, right? So if I create this user and then I add a VoIP phone to that user right away, that person can then pick up their VoIP phone and on the phone hit *98, it's a feature code, that logs them directly into the voicemail box we just created for them at the same time we created the user. The system will prompt them to create a PIN number, as well as then to create their voicemail greeting. And we've got include the user in the company directory or the smart PBX directory. You can always change this if you so inclined. Send emails to an alternate address. So by default, when this user gets a voicemail, right, the system will automatically email the email address used for login the information about that voicemail, right? The date, the time, the phone number, and then an attachment that they can listen to. If you choose to make use of the alternate address, what you're doing is saying, no, don't send emails to the email address used for login. Instead, send it to this other address, right? And this would also be used for password recovery, for example. And then this one down here at the bottom, send credentials to the user. I think that's pretty important. Apparently the programmers did not. If you only need to create one user, you just click on create user. If you need to add more, create user and add another. Once a user is created, you can click on their name. All right, you can change their first or last name. Here, under change credentials, right? This is where you change their email address and their password. Again, for your own user, you would click on your name up here at the top, right? For everyone else, you would click on the users. Voicemail box PIN number. This allows you to create a temporary PIN number for your users, which you would need to do for your cell phone or landline users. Here's your option to send to an alternate address, as well as to be in the company directory. Over here, this pull down allows you to make a user into an admin or an admin into a user. Right, change their credentials, their status. This is your time zone for the user. Right, so if you're working remotely, you can put the correct time zone for your user, which would be helpful for voicemail timestamps. This is the display language, right? So what the web pages display for this user. So if you have someone who's more comfortable, reading in French, for example, you can select French. So English, French, German, and Russian, I believe, are the options. Right, then we got the ringing timeout. Default is 20 seconds. Right? So this is how much time the system is going to send calls to Angelica's device. Right? Default is 20 seconds because that's plenty of time for a landline or a VoIP phone. If Angelica is using a cell phone, I would want to change this to 45 seconds, if not 60. In terms of how a PBX system in general works, right? Call comes into the PBX system, we send calls to the user, right? And then the user's devices. So when we send calls out to a landline, right? Call goes to landline telecom, they go, oh, we know exactly where that phone is here, send it here, right? Sends it straight through. Whereas when we have to send calls to a cell phone, right, it goes out to the cell phone telecom, they go, hold on a second, we need to find them first. Right, they ping the cell phone towers, find you, then say, okay, now send the call. Then the call goes through. That delay, right, that time to find you is why on a PBX system, you need to have a higher ring time for calls going to a cell phone than you do to, say, a landline. Right, users can have multiple extensions. Right, you can then add a new one, you can unassign the existing one, etc. Users can have their own phone numbers. Yeah, you can add from spare or buy new. And just like in groups, right, this phone number works 24/7. Let's go down here to, oops, wrong person. So devices, right, you can add from spare, right, if you have a device you're reusing, or you can add new, right, you still have the same options, right, flip phone, cell phone, soft phone. For a person who doesn't already have VirtualPBX soft phone app, right? Notice it starts you off as using a third party, but this new option showed up down here at the bottom. It says use third party application. If you click on that, it flips it to say use VirtualPBX application. You give it a name, you click on create device, and then you click on save changes. When you click on save changes, this user, right, the Jade faxing test user here, going to get an email. That email will include his username and password for use with the VirtualPBX cell phone app, and we'll have the links to download the app to, say, his cell phone or to his computer. Now, each email address can have one VirtualPBX cell phone, right? So, like, if I tried to add it here, so this cell phone is already a VirtualPBX cell phone. So if I add another one, I don't have that option to make it to change it from a third party. Right. User features. Caller ID number, this only applies to users with their own phone number. When you turn it on, you're saying, hey, use my phone number as my outbound caller ID instead of the company caller ID. Call forwarding. You have off, on, and failover mode. Off, pretty self-explanatory. On, if you turn it on, you just need to choose a mobile or desk or landline, basically. Put +1 area code and phone number, click Save Changes. Now, your users can turn on call forwarding themselves. They can either do so via the user portal, which we get to towards the very end here, or via feature codes on their VoIP phone. Failover mode is for your VoIP phone users. You, again, choose the phone and the phone number, click Save Changes. Now, one thing for call forwarding, whatever you're forwarding to, right? Let's say you're forwarding to your cell phone, that should not already be a device on your user, right? When you're call forwarding, you're forwarding to something that's typically not used, right? Anything you use every day for, for your work calls, that should be a device. Anything you use sporadically, that's for call forwarding. All right, and then the failover mode is basically system detects my VoIP phone goes offline and a call comes to my user at that time, it's going to automatically forward to my cell phone. And then I'll click on Save Changes. Hot desking is a VoIP feature. When you enable it, you create a hot desk ID at the very least, up to you if you want to create a PIN number. This is for a shared office environment where your staff could be sitting at a different desk from day to day, right? So I came in on Tuesday after the holiday. I sit at desk number 7. I pick up that VoIP phone that's at desk 7. I hit *11. Right? That turns on hot desking. It will ask me for my hot desk ID and PIN number if that was enabled by my admin. Then it'll say calls will be sent to this device. So for the rest of my workday, anyone who's trying to reach me, over the phone, right, or all calls to my user, are gonna ring at that phone I'm sitting in. Right, end of my day, I pick it up, I hit *12 to turn off hot desking, and I go home. Next time I come into the office, let's say that's Friday, someone's already sitting at desk 7. I said, "Hey, Moria, how's it going?" I move down and I sit, say, at desk number 22. Pick up the phone, hit *11, hot desk ID, PIN number if required, getting calls at that desk instead. Hot desk ID, generally I recommend 4 digits, especially if you're making use of 4-digit extension numbers. It's easy, just use that person's extension number as their hot disk ID. Voicemail box, right? This is enabled because I created at the same time I created the user. And let's turn that off here. This is going to be default for everybody. The transcribe option, by the way, is a plan-specific feature, right? Only available on some plans, not all. So if you're interested in that, contact our account services team. Transcription basically means the system listens to the voicemail and tries to type it out for you in the body of the email. So, but in general, right, calls that get to voicemail, I have voicemail and email enabled, and I'm attaching that voicemail to the message. So I get a voicemail, I get an email, I look at it. In the body of the email, by default, I get the date, the time, the phone number, the caller ID of the person who called, the phone number they tried to get to, and I have an attachment that's an MP3 file, so I can just double click on it, and then I can listen to the voicemail. Right. If I had transcription enabled, then in the body of the email, I also get the transcription attempt. Now, voicemail boxes can hold up to 100 messages. So if my staff is not good about clearing out their voicemail messages, then what you want to do is this one here, which is delete the messages after they've been sent out. Right. So that way, voicemail boxes won't get full for my users. And most computers have a lot more storage, have plenty of storage space. So if they need to keep the voicemails, right, they can do so. A savvy person would probably create a special folder for the voicemails that they're going to keep. Fax box, users can have their own individual fax boxes if you want them to. You would just click enabled, and then you have the option to add their own phone number or give them an extension number. I usually recommend making use of the phone number as that gives the most versatility, right? This person can then fax out and receive, If you just assign an extension number, they can only receive faxes. Right? In terms of when the system tries to fax out, it checks the user to see if they have their own fax box. If it does, it uses that user's fax box information to send the fax out. That includes the phone number associated with the fax box. So if a user only has an extension number for their fax box, the system tries to send out that fax with the caller ID being their extension number. That's going to fail because that's not a full phone number. Conference bridge. Right, so you can enable conferencing on a user once you've assigned a conference bridge number. And once you enable this, the only thing as an admin you need to do is create a PIN number for the user. And then click on Save Changes. The user can change their PIN numbers themselves under their user portal. Follow Me is good for users with multiple devices. So we'll go to Brandon up here. And I'm going to put it at the default mode first here. All right. So when you first enable it on a user, it looks like this. It's asking, the system asking you which phones do you want to use. So you uncheck the phones you want to use. Still not going to ring very long. Up here you have your total time of ringing, right? Default's 120 seconds. I can click distribute, right? Or I can adjust the sliders down. Oops. Right, or I can do something like that. Right, I can change the order, just like in groups, and then click distribute if I want to. Music on hold, users can have their own individual hold music. You just click enable, and then you upload right, .ogg, .mp3, .wave, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Customize call recording. When you enable it, it looks like this. Basically, the system's asking you what kind of calls you want to record. Right? Inbound internal, right? That's coworker Bob called. Inbound external means customer Mary called. Outbound internal means called coworker Bob. Outbound external called customer Mary. Now, every account has a storage allotment, as well as an overage. If you go over that, you will want to talk to account services to verify how much storage you have and what your overage is if you go over it. You can also make use of AWS, right? If you use Amazon Web Services. If you have an AWS account, you can link that to your Dash account, so then you can store your call recordings on AWS and not worry about overages with us for storage. You can also do that with voicemails and there's something else. I can't remember what that third thing is. And then you have the option here to do not disturb. Right? So you can put a user who's not around on do not disturb. Voicemail boxes. Here you see all your voicemail boxes. Right? Any of your users, right? They'll have a field here in that third column. You notice I have a couple that do not. These are voicemail boxes I created manually. Right? And you would do so like for your ring groups, right? Or your ACD queues. You give it a name, a voicemail box number, and a PIN number. You click on Create Voicemail Box. Once a voicemail box is created, you can click on the little wrench icon here. Right, so you can always review its voicemail box number, the PIN number, in case you need to call in and record a voicemail greeting for it. If you go under Advanced, Reading Media, right, you can upload a file, right, .wave, .mp3, .ogg. And you want to start by putting one in the media section, right? That's the default greeting. The temporary file, this is for the out of office vacation greeting. So if you have something selected here, it's going to play. It will supersede the media file. until you send the temporary back to none. Recipients, for a manually created voicemail box, you would want to add a recipient, right? Just put an email address here. You can click add and add additional recipients. On your user voicemail boxes, right, they already have a built-in recipient, right, the email address used for login. But you can still add additional recipients to their voicemail boxes if you want to. And then we have the options. So once a voicemail box has a media file, right, a greeting, and they have recipients, then you can check on already set up. Down here, this is where you have the attached the email or the voicemail to the email, as well as the option to delete after that email has been delivered. If you have transcription on your account, your option to turn on transcription is right here. And then you would click on Save Changes. Advanced routing. This is home currently to Direct Inward System Access, or DISA, which I mentioned briefly earlier. DISA allows you to set up a way for cell phone or landline users to call into your system and log in and then make an outbound call. And when they make that outbound call, instead of their cell phone number showing up as the outbound caller ID, your main company number shows up. So you would go up here and you would click enable. And so by default, it creates a PIN number for you. So like this, right? It's enabled and it has a PIN number. You could set up a menu option under the advanced call flows for your virtual receptionist, right? So that way your staff members can call in, hit up menu option, and then enter the PIN number. Or you can just add an extension. If you click edit settings here, helps actually click it, then add extension, and then I click on save settings, save changes. Okay, so now, right, any of my staff members can call into a phone number that rings to the virtual receptionist. Even on my other attendants, they can enter this extension number. The system will prompt them for this PIN number. Then they'll hear dial tone again. Right? They enter area code and phone number and dial out. And again, the phone number that shows up as the outbound caller ID, right? That's back under the dashboard under the caller ID settings there. Now, by default for new accounts, this feature is not enabled. And that is because if someone is able to figure out your PIN number, they're potentially able to make outbound calls on your account and you won't notice it right away. Right? Probably not till your next bill. So if you want this enabled, you're just going to want to contact or email our account services or support team, and they can see about getting that enabled on your account. Now, one way you might be able to detect weird outbound calls on your account ahead of time, i.e. before your bill gets shown up, is under here, under the call logs. Right, call logs show your call activity on the account. I'm going to this month, just get a few more days in here. Right, so these yellow arrows to the left, that's an outbound call. Right, so someone was making an outbound call on my account. Green arrow to the right, that's an inbound call that came in. And if you click on it, you can get some more details. Right, in this case, it was offered to this phone number. Looks like it connected because there's normal clearing. Now, the little fire hydrant icon here, you can click on that. It's going to create an email for you that will go to support@virtualpbx.com. In the body of that email, you do want to input additional details, right? Like you had no audio, or your phone didn't actually ring, or what have you. This will probably result in our support team calling you back, trying to make some test calls, or get more details about what was going on. One thing about the call logs, you can go back with custom, right? So you can do a custom date range and then download the file. You can go back up to 12 months. Right, feature codes, I've already talked about a couple of these, but basically this will allow some VoIP phones to use their dial pad to access different features of Dash. This is also available on our website under the support pages. There's 2 documents. There's feature codes, and there's also the phone commands cheat sheet, which is a 1-page PDF. That PDF has a short description of each one of these features as well. That's the dashboard. So now we'll go over to ACD queues. ACD stands for Automatic Call Distribution. It's a call center feature. And it's available on some plans and not others. And even on the plans it's available in, it's an add-on feature, meaning you pay extra for it on top of having to upgrade your plan if you have to. There are 2 types of queues, right? There's the standard queues, which is what we're looking at here. There's also the ACD Queues Pro, which I mentioned earlier. There's a demo from on our YouTube channel here that you can look at as well. To create a queue, you click on Add New Queue. You give it a name. And then you select a phone number or an extension number. Then you click on Next for the queue configuration. First, you've got the routing strategy. Round robin will equal out over time. You have ring all on the standard queues, which means rings everybody, right? Ring all is not available on the pro queues. There is most idle, meaning whoever's been waiting the longest for a call gets the next call that comes in. There is least calls, which is the least amount of connected calls, right? Then that person gets the next call that comes in. And then there's least offers, which is the combination of connected and missed calls. You have hold treatment, so you have default music. You can upload your own file, right? The .wav, MP3, OGG, recorded in mono. Now, under the ACD Queues Pro, you have more options for the hold treatment in terms of you can have things like announce their place in line, announce their expected wait time. You can have multiple different media files play as well. The queue timeout, this is measured in seconds. This is how much time the inbound caller can wait on hold. All right, queue call limit, this is how many people can wait on hold. And this is on top of who's already speaking to your staff members, right? So if you got 2 staff members taking calls, you can have you can put this to 4, right? So then 4 people can wait on hold on top of the 2 who are speaking to your staff members. All right, timeout immediately if empty. If you enable this, this means if you have no staff members logged in and a call comes into the queue, the system will treat that inbound caller as if they've already hit this 3600 second timeout. Escalation queue, and you would select a different queue here. Basically, all your staff members are busy. The system will send calls to a secondary queue or backup queue. And then the escalation call flow after timeout. So after this 3600 seconds, what do you want the system to do with the call? None means the system will end the call, right? Advanced call flows, you're sending it to another auto attendant. You can send it to another device. You can send it to the user directory. You can send it to one of your ring groups. You can send it to a media file, but once that media file is done playing, that ends the call. You can send it to a specific user, and you can send it to a voicemail box. One thing to know is if you're making use of escalation queues, the system keeps track of which queue the call first came into. And that's the escalation call flow timeout, right? So this one down here, that it follows, right? So call comes into this queue, it goes to one of my escalation queues. And then that 3600 second timeout expires. The system doesn't pay attention to the second queue's escalation call flow timeout. It goes back to this first one. All right, queue agent behavior. Recovery time. This is basically, you can set a timer for after an agent is done with call. How much time do they get before the system offers them a second call from the queue? Right, gives them time to have a sip of water, finish their notes, etc. Force away on reject or missed. If an agent misses the call and you have this enabled, that means the system will put them in away mode. they won't be offered calls until they make themselves ready again. And then Agent Connect Timeout is how much time the system offers a call to an agent. The default is 20 seconds, which is typically plenty of time because currently on queues, you can only accept calls with a VoIP phone, right? So a SIP phone, soft phone, or web phone. No cell phones, no landlines. And then you would click on Create Queue. Once you've created queues, if you go over here on the left and click on the members icon, the person with the headset. All right, call center members. What this means is these are your staff members who are able to be in a queue. Right, you can assign them to specific queues. If they're not on this list, that means they cannot access the queues. If you click on Manage Members, right, the list on the left, these are my other staff members, right? So they're not yet available to be in the queues. I can click on a name and then click on Add as a Member. So now Mike will be moved over and is now associated with a pro queue. Interesting. Yeah, I guess I should point out, you can only have either the standard queues or the pro queues. You cannot have both. And then, so the people here on the right, these are all the people who can be in my queues. I click back here and go back to the queue page. I click on a queue's name. I can click on Add Agents. So the people on the left, these are all the people who can be in the queues, who are not already in us or already assigned to my queues. Right? And this is just click and drag them over. Click on Save Changes. Once you have added agents, you can select particular agents to be managers. Click Add Managers, and then you can click and drag someone over, or vice versa, to set your managers. Now, so for your staff members who you assign to be as part of the queues, right, they will have the option here to get to ACD queues. When they get here, right, basically beginning of their shift, they click on Begin Session at the top right. And now they're in the queue, but they're marked away by default in the standard queue. They should also click on this phone icon and select the device they want to take calls on, right? So one of their VoIP phones. And then when they're ready, click where it says away, mark all as ready, and you'll see they'll turn green. If their little bar here is blue, that means they're on an inbound queue call. If it's yellow, that means they're on an external call, right? So outside of the queue. And if they're gold, they're on wrap-up time. Pro queues, they also have a third icon here for performance. So a manager and admin can view agent performance compared to other agents. Right? So they can view multiple versions of their call stats. Pro queues also have the ability for managers and admins to eavesdrop in on a call, as well as whisper to their agent or barge in, basically take over the call. And that pretty much wraps up queues. Next up, we have Blacklist. This is an included feature. What Blacklist does, I'll click at it here, it allows you to create a list of phone numbers that you're not allowing to connect to your system. Right? So the particular phone numbers, when they try to dial your numbers, they get busy tone. You would click Add to create your first list. Or you're going to look at an existing list. You can always change the name, right? But you should give it a name of some sort. First decision here is block anonymous. If you turn this on, that means if we get invalid inbound caller ID, and I have this on, that means that call is not getting through, right? It gets busy tone. Otherwise, you click on add number, you put +1 area code, and then phone number, and click add, and you keep adding numbers until you're done. Then you would click on save. You go back to settings, to the top right, and then you make sure that list is over here to the right, under selected. So any list that's under selected here, these are active. Right? You still click update just to make sure. But now any phone number on those 3 lists, when they call any of my phone numbers, they get busy tone. Right? They're not wasting my time or my staff member's time. Dynamic caller ID, this is a plan-specific feature, right? It's available on some plans and not others. What this allows you to do is create rules to change your outbound caller ID. So the first option here is I'm created a feature code, right? So you give it a name, you select a phone number on your account, right? This pull down would show all your phone numbers, and then you select what kind of feature code, right? *71 in this case. You click save changes. So now my VoIP phone users, right? They can pick up their VoIP phone, hit *71, and then dial a phone number. And this 807 phone number will show up as their outbound caller ID. Right, so it makes it look like a local number to who they're calling. Other option here is up here at the top. Right, I called it 408 area code. I selected a 408 number on my account, and I'm saying, hey, anytime any of my VoIP phone users dial a 408 area code phone number, their caller ID is going to change to this 408 phone number. And then click on Save Changes. Faxes, or the Fax Manager, this is an included feature. It allows you as an admin to get to any fax box on the account. And you can see their fax activity, right? Date, time, where the fax came from, what number it went to. You can see the number of pages. You can download it. You can also choose to delete it. You can also go to the outbound faxes for a user. So you can see, oh, they sent out a fax on the 26th. Came from that number, went to this number of pages. You can download the file. You can see the email to fax logs. If you have information here, there'll be a little eyeball icon here under details. When you click on that, that will give you more technical details. Normally, you see things like someone used their personal email address instead of their work email address, or they forgot to put an attachment. Monitor, also a plan-specific feature, but basically allows you to see the status of your staff members. Right, you can see basically on the user or down to the device level. You can also over here, you see your active inbound calls, as well as any parked calls and the parking spot. The number manager, an included feature, basically this takes you back to your spare number page. The recording manager, this takes you to recordings.virtualpbx.com, so you can view your call recordings. Reports, this is advanced reporting. This is a plan-specific feature, but this allows you to create your own reports to get you a better idea of what's going on with your call activity. Again, we have that demo on our YouTube page under videos. I recommend taking a look at that if you're interested in more details. It's not really associated on this account. Voicemails, this is the voicemail manager, so you can see all the voicemails on the account. I don't think I have a lot on this one. Webhooks. This allows you to link Dash to other software. It's essentially, you're basically doing some programming. If you're interested in this, this is a plan-specific feature. You're going to want to talk to our sales team, actually. And you can also see what we've done at developer.virtualpbx.com to see other ways we have linked Dash to other software, like Slack, for example. And then lastly, the user portal. Every user on your account has their own user portal. As an admin, you're not able to access anyone's user portal, but you can get to everything. Right? So a user can get to their voicemails, right? They could listen to them, play them back, delete them, etc. The call history tab, they would see their calls both inbound and outbound. They can change the date range if they need to. The fax tab, they can see their fax activity. Again, they can change the date range if they need to. The contact list tab shows all the contacts in the account, right? So various voicemail boxes, users and their extension numbers, groups, etc. Not something that any of your users can add to, right? I mean, well, okay, technically your admins can add to it because they can add users, but like your salespeople wouldn't be able to add their sales contacts. Conference tab, over to the right is where your users would update their PIN numbers, right? So the moderator PIN as well as the participant PIN number. And then option, do people join muted or do people join deafened? And then we've got play entry and exit tones. Over here, you've got the option to invite other Dash users to your conference. You can lock a conference so other people can't join, mute everybody, unmute everybody, hang up. Also, when you're in a conference, under the participants, you'll have the option to mute a specific person or unmute them, as well as kick them from the conference. And then settings and devices, this is where your users would set up their own call forwarding. And again, this phone number should not be a device on their user. This is something they only use sporadically. And click on Save. And that is everything. I haven't seen any questions come up, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. We'll be here again next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific. Feel free to watch a previous version of this training or even this training later today if you want to. And don't forget the advanced reporting and pro queues videos that are on our YouTube channel. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next Tuesday.